Well, hey everyone. My name is Alexandre Savard. I'm a Canadian osteopath from Montreal, filming this in South Shore, Montreal, in Saint-Lambert, Quebec. So, this is going to be more of a general presentation video about who I am and why I launched this channel. First of all, welcome to this channel. Well, to a musician. So, besides being an osteopath, I'm a musician. Osteopathy is what I make a living with, and music, well, it's this other part of my life that I'm absolutely in love with. But then there's this aspect of my life which is all about helping out musicians in preventing injuries and finding comfort at the instrument, and potentially a more natural and proficient technique also, because I think that these things blend in together. So you may have already seen me on Narisol's channel discussing things related to anatomy and posture and practice habits for musicians so as to prevent injuries. So that's part of what I do now. I'm a collaborator to Nari's channel, and she is part of the reason why I decided to launch this channel just about a bit more than 2 months ago now. So yes, who am I? And who's this guy speaking in front of the camera? And yes, I said I'm a Canadian osteopath. So that's one side of my background, I guess. The other side is about music. So I'll start with the music part because it has longer standing roots in my case. So I was put on a piano bench at first when I was 5 years old. And I guess that would make sense because my mom is a professional pianist herself. And so I took piano lessons all the way from age 5 all the way to age 23, with only one short break when I was maybe 16. But I fell in love with piano and music pretty, well, I mean, not that early. I was around 15, 16 years old when I realized I really liked that. And when I was 20 years old, I decided that I wanted to take a full year off in order to really dedicate myself to practicing piano and brushing up my piano skills before undertaking an undergraduate program, which I finished at age 23. My final recital is online for anyone who's interested. And so yeah, that's how it went. So I took that year off at age 20, and then many things happened during that year, among which I found this book. So I ordered it from Amazon because I was thinking, okay, Alex, you're practicing all of these hours at the piano, like somewhere up to 9, even 10 hours a day of piano practice. And at the back of my mind, I had this idea, well, if you practice that much, there's a chance that you're going to get injured. So I thought the responsible thing to do was to get some information about how to prevent injuries at your instrument. And so that book was my attempt at that. And so I got it on Christmas of my, so that was when I was 20. And I remember sitting in my grandfather's living room and reading the introduction to the book and then the first chapter, and just being basically blown away. I was thinking to myself, I've had so many teachers up until now, and no one has ever told me about any of the concepts that are in there, and that didn't make any sense to me. This was about anatomy of the body applied to musicians, and maybe because I've got also a dad who's an engineer, it just clicked with me. I thought, this made so much sense. Why haven't I been taught something like this? And so I was kind of shocked and a little angry too, because I had learned things like medieval modes, which I would probably never use in any piece that I played, and yet I knew of them, I had learned about them, but no one had bothered telling me that my wrist was here and not here, and that it was 3 rows of joints. I thought that was pretty weird. I thought there's something off. And so as I went along with this, I discussed with people around me about these concepts, and I realized, well, this should be taught in school in the standard music programs, and maybe if that's not the case already, I could be part of the people who would end up doing just that, pushing for that kind of information in the music world. And so this is how I decided that after my undergraduate degree, I would get into healthcare. I would learn some profession around physical therapy. It ended up being osteopathy for me. I also did 1 year in occupational therapy in the meantime, which was very interesting for other reasons. But yes, I ended up doing the osteopathic program at Montreal CEO, and that was a 5-year full-time program. Now we have to make a distinction here. If you're watching from the US, an osteopath in the US is a doctor first and a manual therapist second. So they treat with drugs first and manual therapy on top of that sometimes. But many DOs in the US don't treat with manual therapy, unfortunately. Even though osteopathy was founded in the US, and that was a desire of its founder, Andrew Taylor Still, he wanted for his followers to leave the chemistry out of it, but that unfortunately that's exactly what happened. Chemistry took over and it became all about drugs. And I have nothing against drugs, but I just think that osteopathy first and foremost is about manual therapy. But this is the way I was taught though. I had to learn all these manual therapy techniques. I learned over 1,000 techniques to treat every joint and every muscle and tissue in the human body in all sorts of different ways. It was quite a complete program. There was also physiology courses in there, biomechanics, anatomy, and all of that stuff, but not the drugs part, right? So I'm not a drug expert. I'm a physical therapy expert. I'm an osteopath, but I do with the field of physical therapy. I did learn exercises on top of that. Exercises is not the core of my discipline, but manual therapy can inform exercise science very well, and the other way around too. So there's a continuum between these two practices, and so I've learned exercise on top of my formation. So yes, so that's for the healthcare part, and I told you about the music part of my credentials. So, and also after I finished my degree in osteopathy, I went on to a private osteopathy practice, and so I've now got 5 years of clinical practice under my belt, treating mostly general population, but also musicians along the way, which was great. And then I ended up meeting Nare. I collaborated on some videos with her, and now I'm launching my own YouTube channel. So why this title? Well-tuned musician. Well, as musicians, I think our first instrument is our body. The second instrument is the one that we play on, but our first instrument is our body. And I think the analogy is pretty sound when you think about it. I think it's interesting. So the Buddha had this analogy for strings. He thought that it was very important to have our own strings ourselves tuned very precisely with just the right amount of tension, not being too loose or not being too tensed. And this is how we tune instruments. This is how we tune our violin, our piano. Before performance, we want all the strings to have just the right amount of tension. And when you think about the human body, you think about fascia, you think about muscles. The analogy is pretty interesting because these are filaments, these are kinds of strings, if you will, and the right muscle tone means we have just the right amount of tension for the actions that we undergo, that we undertake for our discipline. So yeah, the well-tuned musician, welcome to this channel. Yes, my main practice is a clinician in a private clinic. So if you live in the nearby area of Montreal, you can book an appointment with me. You can find me online. Everything's going to be in the description. What else could I say? So about this channel, what format am I going to be using? Well, like I am doing right now with this video, there are going to be some medium-sized videos where I'm going to go a bit deeper into concepts relative to musicians' health and things that could be useful for them. There's going to be a lot of shorts. All of the production I've made so far for this channel has been in the short format. I think this format is very interesting for a wide variety of reasons. One of them being that it's a great pedagogical challenge for me to convey a concept in under 1 minute. It's also a format that is very much appreciated. It is very much watched. I watch a lot of shorts. I've found them very useful in the past for myself. So that's one thing. And then there's going to be also longer interviews, probably conversations with other people who are involved in the realm of helping out and treating musicians, helping them with issues they might have, encounter on their way to the proficiency of their skill. And then what about the frequency? So I intend to publish one video every Sunday at 9 p.m. This is the discipline I am giving myself. I hope I'll be able to follow through with that, and as much as I can. I also have a young son who's 10 months old, so that takes a toll on a daddy, plus the whole clinical practice, obviously, but I'll do my best to keep it up. And so that's pretty much everything I had to say. Oh, and also, well, as you may have noticed, I have a pretty heavy French accent. And so there is going to always be an equivalent video in French to every video I put out on this channel. So if you're interested in listening to me talking French, there's going to be a link in the description to my French channel, where there's going to always be, I hope, always be an equivalent video in French. So I think that pretty much covers it. So please don't hesitate to put your comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section. You can contribute to the shaping of this channel. I'm looking forward to hearing about you guys, finding out about who you are and who might be interested in that sort of thing. What are your concerns? And let me know what kinds of videos you would like me to do for you, what kinds of questions you would like me to answer for you. So subscribe to the channel, hit that like, hit that bell, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.